There is a kind of silence that follows a wrong decision. Not the peaceful kind. The heavy kind, the kind that sits in your chest and reminds you, quietly, that you knew better. Most of us have been there. We just do not always admit it. Her name was Adiz, 31 years old, an accountant at a mid-sized construction firm in Abuja. She had worked hard for everything she had. The small but neat apartment in Guarinpa, the car she was still paying off in installments, the title on her office door that read Senior Financial Officer. To the people who knew her, Adiz was capable, focused, the kind of woman who kept her receipts, read her contracts carefully, and never arrived late to anything. To the people who knew her well, her mother, her childhood friend Blessing, her younger brother Emeka, she was all of those things, yes. But she was also someone who found it very difficult to say three particular words. I was wrong. Not because she was cruel, not because she did not care, but because somewhere along the way, being right had become part of how she understood herself. And when that happens, when your identity gets too tangled up with never being wrong, even small corrections begin to feel like attacks. That is where the story begins. The trouble started at work, but it did not stay there. Adiz's firm had recently brought in a new financial consultant, a younger man named Chukwuebuka, but everyone called him Ibuka. He was 27, quietly confident, and had a way of looking at numbers that was different from how things had always been done at the firm. In their first joint meeting, Ibuka flagged something in a quarterly report that Adiz had prepared. He did it gently. He said, I think there may be a rounding discrepancy in this column. It's small, but it could affect the projection downstream. The room was not large. There were 4 other people sitting around the table. Adiz looked at the figure. She looked at it for a long moment. And then she said, the report has been reviewed. The methodology is sound. Ibuka nodded slowly and did not push further. But after the meeting, Adiz went back to her desk and opened the file. He was right. It was a small error, the kind that anyone could make, the kind that would have been simple to correct and move forward from. But Adiz sat with it for a long time, and instead of feeling relieved that it had been caught, she felt something sharper, something closer to shame. And shame, when it is not handled honestly, has a way of turning itself into something else. It turned into resentment. From that point, something shifted in Adiz, not dramatically, but steadily, the way weather changes before a storm. She began to find fault with Ibuka's suggestions in meetings. When he proposed a new reporting format, she raised objections. When management praised his input on a vendor analysis, she mentioned to a colleague that the approach was not entirely original. She did not shout. She did not confront him directly. She simply used the quiet tools of a proud person: the raised eyebrow, the carefully worded doubt, the professional coldness. At home, when Blessing called to check in, Adiz complained about this new consultant who thinks he knows everything. Blessing, who had known Adiz since secondary school, listened carefully. Then she asked, but is he wrong about the things he's saying? Adiz changed the subject. Her brother Emeka visited one weekend and found her distracted, scrolling through the firm's internal reports on her laptop at the dining table. Ada, what's going on with you? He asked. Nothing, she said. Work. But it was not just work. It was the growing weight of a thing she had refused to put down. The moment that changed everything came 6 weeks later. The firm was preparing a major proposal for a government infrastructure contract, the kind of opportunity that came rarely and mattered greatly. Adiz was leading the financial section. Ibuka had been asked to review it before submission. He sent her a message 2 days before the deadline. He had found another issue this time, not small. A calculation in the cost projection section had used an outdated exchange rate. If submitted as it was, the numbers would not hold up under scrutiny. The firm could lose the contract, or worse, be seen as incompetent. Adiz read the message. She sat very still. She thought about how it would look again. A correction again from him. She thought about the colleagues who would hear about it. She thought about her title and her years of experience and everything she had built. And for a moment, just a moment, she considered leaving the report as it was. She told herself the reviewers might not notice. She told herself Ibuka was being overcautious. She told herself many things, quickly, in the space of a few minutes. Then she closed her eyes, and in the silence, A question arrived, the same kind of quiet, honest question that has a way of cutting through noise when everything else falls away. Who are you protecting right now? Yourself? Or your work? She knew the answer. Adiz picked up her phone and called Abuka. She told him he was right. She asked if he had time to go through the correction together. Her voice was steady, but it cost her something to make that call, and she knew it. And she made it anyway. They worked through the evening and fixed a report. It was submitted on time. The firm got the contract. At the team meeting where the news was shared, the managing director mentioned the quality of the financial proposal, specifically its accuracy, its clarity. He thanked both Adiz and Abuka. Adiz looked across the table at Abuka, and for the first time in weeks, she did not feel the tight, uncomfortable thing she had been carrying. She felt something lighter, something closer to peace. After the meeting, she stopped him in the corridor. The exchange rate issue, she said. You were right to flag it. And I should have responded better the first time, too, in the initial meeting. Ibuka was quiet for a moment. Then he said simply, I appreciate that. They did not become close friends overnight. That is not how real life works. But something between them straightened the way a bent thing returns to its proper shape when the pressure is finally released. That evening, Adiz called Blessing. She told her the truth about the past few weeks, not all of it, but enough. Blessing listened without saying I told you so, which is what a real friend does. When Adiz was done, Blessing said, the fact that you can say it now means you've grown, Ada. Adiz sat with that for a while. It was enough. Pride is not always loud. Sometimes it is very quiet. It sits inside a reasonable-sounding objection, or a professional coldness, or a story we tell ourselves about why the other person is the problem. Adiz was not a bad person. She was a talented, hard-working woman who had spent years building something real. But she had also built, without realizing it, a wall around being wrong, and that wall was costing her more than she knew. The wisdom she almost missed was not complicated. It was simply this: being corrected is not the same as being diminished. Acknowledging a mistake does not erase everything you have earned. And the people who are most respected in the long run are not those who are always right, they are those who are honest enough to say when they are not. Pride speaks loudly. It tells you to protect yourself, to hold your position, to never let them see you adjust. Wisdom speaks quietly. It asks only one question: what is actually true here? Adiz almost did not hear it, but she did, and that made all the difference.